You sit down to a bowl of chili, good chili, the kind with real heat that builds as you eat. And about halfway through, you notice something. You're not just full, you feel good. There's a lightness, a quiet buzz, a sense of warmth that goes beyond temperature. That's not placebo. That's not imagination. That's chemistry. And it's happening every single time you eat something with real capsaicin in it. Today, I want to explain exactly why peppers make you feel happier, what's happening in your brain, why it matters more as you get older, and how to use this deliberately, gently, every day. Let's start with what happens the moment capsaicin touches your tongue. Your mouth contains TRPV1 receptors, pain receptors that respond to heat and chemical irritation. When capsaicin activates these receptors, your brain receives a signal that says something is burning. It's not actually burning, there's no tissue damage, but the brain can't tell the difference. And the brain's response to pain is always the same. It releases endorphins. Beta endorphins specifically, your body's own opioid-like molecules. They bind to the same receptors that morphine does. They reduce pain. They produce euphoria. They create that soft, warm glow you feel after a spicy meal. You're essentially tricking your brain into releasing feel-good chemicals, safely, naturally, through food. Now here's where it gets interesting for people in their 50s and beyond. Endorphin production tends to decline with age. The triggers become less sensitive. The output gets smaller. That's part of why the same things that used to lift your mood, a long walk, a good laugh, a favorite song, might feel less potent than they used to. I noticed this in myself a few years ago. Not depression exactly, just flatness. The colors weren't as bright. Sundays felt longer. Mornings felt heavier. Nothing was wrong, but nothing felt particularly right either. And then I read a study, published in a preclinical neuroscience journal, showing that capsaicin promotes long-term potentiation in the hippocampus through TRPV1 activation, while inhibiting long-term depression. Long-term depression in this context is a neuroscience term. It means weakening of neural connections, not the emotional state, but the implication is the same. Capsaicin supports the brain's ability to stay responsive, connected, engaged. Here's where ancient medicine already knew this. In Ayurvedic tradition, pungent foods, hot peppers, ginger, black pepper, are prescribed for people experiencing what they call ama, sluggishness, heaviness, stagnation, both physical and emotional. The warming, activating quality of these spices is meant to move energy through the body and mind, to cut through fog. Chinese medicine says the same thing differently. Pungent flavor benefits the lungs, the organ system they associate with grief and letting go. Dr. Noboru Morimoto, in his classic text, notes that spicy flavors activate breath, circulation, and emotional release. Different language, same observation. Heat moves stagnation. And now modern neuroscience confirms the mechanism. Capsaicin triggers endorphin release. Endorphins elevate mood. Consistently elevated mood over time equals better baseline emotional health. It's all connected. So how do you use this intentionally? Not as an emergency treatment for sadness, that's not what I'm suggesting, but as a gentle, daily, mood-supporting habit. You add heat to one meal every day. Not painful heat, not challenge-level heat, just noticeable heat. Enough that you feel the warmth on your tongue and your nose runs just slightly. That's your threshold for endorphin release. A 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne in your lunchtime soup. A few shakes of crushed red pepper on your dinner vegetables. A pinch of cayenne stirred into your afternoon bone broth. Hot sauce on your morning eggs, the real kind, not the sweet kind. Consistency matters more than intensity. You're not trying to eat the hottest thing possible once a week. You're aiming for moderate heat daily. That's what builds the sustained endorphin baseline. I mentioned earlier that I had a stretch, a couple winters ago, where everything felt gray. Here's what I actually did about it, specifically. I committed to adding cayenne to my soup every single night for 30 days. Not as a treatment, just as an experiment. A quarter teaspoon in whatever soup I made that day. Chicken, lentil, vegetable, tomato. The first week, nothing dramatic. Maybe my sleep was slightly better? Hard to say. But around day 12 or 13, I noticed I was humming while I cooked. Which sounds small, but when you've been flat for a while, humming is a sign. It means something in you is lighter than it was. By the end of the month, the gray hadn't fully lifted. Winter is winter. But my baseline was different. I felt like I had more access to enjoyment, like the channel for pleasure had been cleaned out a little. One friend, not a scientist, just a wise man from New Mexico, had told me, put cayenne in everything for a month and see what happens. He was right. I want to be clear about what this is and isn't. This is a dietary habit that supports mood naturally. It works through known biochemical pathways: endorphin release, TRPV1 modulation, improved circulation to the brain. It's gentle, it's food-based, and it has virtually no side effects at moderate doses. This is not a replacement for clinical treatment of depression. If you are experiencing persistent low mood, loss of interest in things you used to enjoy, changes in sleep or appetite that last more than 2 weeks, difficulty functioning, please talk to a professional. There's no shame in it, and it can genuinely help. But for the everyday gray, for the seasonal flatness, for the I'm fine but I'm not great feeling, adding consistent dietary heat is one tool in a larger toolkit, and it's one you can start tonight with nothing more than a pepper shaker. There's another mechanism here worth mentioning, and it's less discussed. Capsaicin stimulates noradrenaline release. Noradrenaline is one of the chemicals responsible for alertness, motivation, and focus. It's the brain's pay attention signal. Low noradrenaline is associated with lethargy, brain fog, and that can't get started feeling in the morning. By consuming capsaicin, even in small amounts at meals, you're gently nudging noradrenaline production. Not in a sharp, anxious coffee jolt way, in a slow building, I'm more present now way. I notice this most in the afternoon. After a lunch with some heat in it, my 2 o'clock slump is less deep. I can stay focused on a project longer. I don't need the second coffee or the sugar hit. The pepper handled it. If you're on antidepressants, SSR is, SNR is, anything in that family, dietary capsaicin in food amounts does not interfere with those medications. You're safe to add pepper to your meals. However, if you're on MAO is, which are less common now but still prescribed, capsaicin in large, concentrated doses could theoretically cause a blood pressure spike. At food levels, this is unlikely to be an issue, but mention it to your prescribing doctor. The beautiful thing about this approach is how low the barrier is. You don't need a prescription, you don't need a new supplement, you don't need to commit to a program. You just need to make your food a little warmer, a little more often. Let me leave you with this. Your brain already makes endorphins. It's designed to. The machinery is in place. But sometimes the triggers get quiet, especially as life gets routine, especially in winter, especially when we're not as physically active as we used to be. Capsaicin is a trigger, a gentle, daily, delicious trigger. It reminds your brain to release what it already knows how to make. If you've been feeling flat and you don't know why, add heat to your meals for 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. See if anything shifts. It might be small, but small counts when you've been gray for a while. And if this helped today, if something here made sense or gave you hope, hit like. Not for me, for the algorithm to show this to someone else who needs to hear it. Someone who's sitting in their kitchen right now wondering why nothing feels quite right. Pepper won't fix everything, but it might fix the first inch, and the first inch is where movement begins.